Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Coop Radio. Yes, I'm still doing this. We're 2 weeks into talking about NASCAR related things here on Coop Radio. I'm excited for today's show for you guys. And boy, oh boy, did I get a lot more people watching this thing than I thought. I appreciate every single one of you all who tuned into the Natalie Decker episode, the debut episode of Coop Radio Talks About NASCAR. Haven't really decided yet on a name for that thing. I'll figure it out over the next couple weeks. I got time. To figure that out. But firstly, like I said, thank you all for watching last week's episode. It makes me that much more enticed to want to continuously keep doing this. So I hope you all stick around and keep listening. I know this is going to be a long one. So anybody who isn't interested in listening to a long episode, strap yourself in. It's funny I say that because last week's was like an hour and 52 minutes. And then I come in this week and I'm saying, yeah, this one's going to be a long one, guys. It'll probably be around the same time, hopefully. I don't think I'll be around here for 3 hours. But then again, I'll probably look at the timer after this thing's done and be like, Jesus fucking Christ. 3 hours of talking about NASCAR is insane. Especially when you're by yourself. I had buddies of mine who've listened to the show. So shout out to you guys. You know who you are. Who listened to the first episode. A couple funny things that I'm going to clip out of the first episode here later this week that they pointed out to me. But the one thing that I think they pointed out to me that I was going to mention was the fact of just sitting and talking for an insanely amount of time about anything by yourself is crazy. And you kind of do got to be a little bit crazy, I guess, to sit for, like I said, 2 hours and just sit there and talk by yourself with nobody else to reciprocate in the conversation at all. It's all just the voices in my head, I guess, that I'm talking to. I don't understand it. I don't get how I'm able to do that. It's just how I'm wired, I guess. But I don't think this thing will be 3 hours. We'll see, though. Loads of news. Loads of stuff to talk about from this past weekend. Got a brand new top 10, and I got some new Asshats that we are going to shout out at the end of the episode. So stick around for the end. I saw y'all that dropped off after the first minute. If that's the case, we're 2.5 minutes in. 90% of you have already probably left. So stick around. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notifications bell after subscribing so that you know when this thing gets posted. By the way, this thing will be posted from now on every Tuesday at 6 a.m. my time, which is Central Time. So 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 a.m. West Coast Time. So make sure to have the notification bells on my YouTube channel so you know when I post podcasts and when I post videos. You'll be all caught up in everything Coop Radio related. Let's go ahead and start off with some news. There were some things I'm going to mention later on that were from the Daytona weekend that I didn't really cover too much because I was more involved and more enveloped in talking about Natalie Decker and the psychotic weirdo that she is, which, side note, I'm not going to talk about Natalie Decker as much in this episode because she wasn't around this weekend. But she did try to give some vague response and basically saying the same thing she said last week. So if you're curious as to really what her response to all of the hate that she got over this last week leading into Atlanta after her wondrous showing at Daytona last weekend and all of the other crazy things she said leading up to the Daytona race, if you're curious as basically what her response was, it basically was just her repeating what she said in her post-race interview, which was, it's all on the spotter, it's not on me. She said, well, the spotter told me to go up and, I was already committed and I couldn't do anything else. And I've already went on a 40-minute rant about her last week. So if you want to go listen to me rant about Natalie Decker, go and check out the other video that's on this YouTube channel that you're currently listening to right now. Go check out the Natalie Decker episode. I talk about her for 40 some minutes in the middle of the episode. It's worth a listen. Trust me. There's so much stuff that she says that's worth a listen. There's so much stuff that I say that's worth a listen. There's so much stuff that She did that interview with Matt Tiff. There's so much that's in that interview that's worth listening to. So I suggest going and listening to that video if you want to hear me talk about Natalie. That being said, some of the major pieces of news that came out of this week, there's one that happened today, which I'll get into in a second, but the one I really want to cover is just when you think that NASCAR is done suing people and NASCAR is done being out of the courtroom, we are right back in there. We are right back into using lawyers and right back into suing people. JGR, in the most odd way, is suing Chris Gabehart. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read this article. I'm not going to read the whole article. I'm going to try to piece together and kind of give you somewhat of a cliff notes as to what is actually going on here. So thank you to apnews.com for allowing us, a friend of the show, allowing us to use your article here and to read off your article here as far as getting our information, as far as what's going on here. So the article headline is Joe Gibbs Racing sues ex-director Chris Gabehart alleging a, quote, brazen trade secrets theft. So Joe Gibbs Racing, according to this article, on Thursday of this past week, filed suit against former competition director Chris Gabehart for allegedly embarking on a, quote, brazen scheme to steal JGR's most sensitive information for the benefit of rival NASCAR team Spire Motorsports. They filed suit in Western District. Who fucking cares about this? Quote, his demands for additional attorney were rebuffed by JGR's owners. I don't know what that even means. Who cares? They claim JGR is claiming that Gabehart basically stole stuff, violated his contract and stole confidential team trade secrets. The suit alleges Gabehart caused more than $8 million worth of damages to JGR. The filing did not request an injunction preventing Gabehart from working for Spire. Who cares about that? So basically, it's in the infancy stages of this lawsuit. So there's very little information coming out about this. Now, Chris obviously responded to him being sued by JGR with those accusations, basically saying that he's denying the claims, obviously, made in the lawsuit Thursday. This article is from racer.com. So friend of the show, racer.com, thank you for allowing us to use your article as well. This is what Gabehart wrote. He said, yesterday afternoon, Joe Gibbs Racing filed a lawsuit claiming falsely that I shared JGR confidential information with Spire Motorsports and or other unnamed third parties. I feel compelled to speak out today and forcefully and empathetically deny these frivolous. Why does it? Okay. Use normal words. Don't be trying to get into the dictionary and use words that no one uses. Who uses frivolous nowadays? I've never used the word frivolous in my life in a single sentence besides reading somebody else's writing. Anyways, he says, I feel compelled to speak out today and forcefully and empathetically deny these frivolous and retaliatory claims. I look forward to the opportunity to demonstrate to the court that I have not shared JGR's confidential information with anyone. In fact, I have already demonstrated that to JGR. A third-party forensics expert retained by JGR recently examined my laptop, cell phone, and personal Google Drive and found no evidence to support the baseless allegations in JGR's lawsuit. We even offered JGR the opportunity to do a similar review of Spire's systems. JGR refused that offer and filed this spiteful lawsuit instead. Stay tuned. We will have much more to say in the legal response we will be filing in the coming days. Number one, it's so early in the infancy stage, so we don't really have a true idea as far as what is JGR thinking that Gabehart really stole. My immediate thought is, okay, is it setups? Is it the way, some behind the scenes stuff as far as the way they do it versus how Spire does it? Is it, my immediate thought is it's got to be like setup related, and the amount of time that, or like R&D related stuff that JGR has done with their next gen cars to be faster or find advantages or whatever, and the time that they spent, time and money that they spent, is where they're getting this idea of $8 million being stolen. So obviously we don't know right now what they're claiming he took and what they're claiming that he gave Spire. But my assumption is that it has to be setup related and or R&D related, as far as getting obviously an advantage with the cars and finding speed. An opinion on this can't really be formed yet until I get more info. Early on, I mean, the fact that Gabehart is very forthright in saying that, hey, we didn't take anything. I didn't take anything to Spire. I don't know where they're getting this idea. Makes me think that this probably won't result in anything. And that it'll result with JGR coming back and finding out, actually, no, there really wasn't much that he took besides maybe like setups. Which I'd love to know, what is the protocol there? Is whoever is a crew chief or whoever is somewhat of an engineer at a team, if they leave that team, the information that they have gathered themselves, does that have to stay at their team that they're at? And can they not take anything off of, say, personal computers or phones or Google Drives or whatever, and take that to the next team and say, hey, I'm bringing this information? That's probably a selling point for him to get the job at Spire, is the fact that, hey, I'm coming with this wealth of knowledge that I've gotten from JGR in the time I've worked there. Not just obviously in my own head of like, this is what I've learned while working there and just general, but more so specifically, obviously, is that it's selling point of, hey, I've got these setups that I'm bringing with us that we can then apply to your cars and make your cars better and make your cars faster, that might work for Suarez or Hocevar or McDowell. Is he coming with also information as far as R&D related? Like, hey, if you do this to your car, you're going to find, a couple hundredths of a second, a little bit more time, something not just setup related, but maybe more so improvement on the car. I don't know. Nobody knows. This has obviously just been filed this past Thursday, like I said. So there's not a lot of info that we can go based off of here. But once again, no shockers. We're back in the courtroom. Maybe. I have a feeling this will probably result in some type of either the charges being dropped, or in a few weeks or months or whatever the timeline is until, however long this goes, if there's discovery or whatever, like whatever the actual claims are by JGR as far as like, this is what you actually stole, this is what you actually took with you that you weren't allowed to take with you. Until we get more info, we can't really say too much. We can't really have too much of an opinion on it. So that's why I say right now, in the position that I'm in, I can only make guesses. So my opinion, though, based off the info that we do have, is, like I said, I don't see this really going that far. I don't see this blowing up I don't see it blowing up into what the lawsuit that we had over the offseason is going to. I don't see it being that. I don't see it blowing up into that big of a thing and a whole bunch of shit coming out in Discovery or whatever. I don't see that happening. I think that this is something that will probably just blow over in the next couple months or so, and it'll be water under the bridge. Maybe I'm wrong. Probably I am wrong. God knows in a few weeks we hear something like Gabehart stole, JGR claims, confidential information. That could be any sorts of things. That could, like I said, that could be setups. That could be R&D related stuff. That could be nothing. It could be, nothing of significance. It could just be text messages. Confidential information could just be team communications. It could be something as simple as that. I don't know. I don't think it's that. You wouldn't sue somebody over that. But It could be something as simple as that, or it could be something as big as, ways to make Spire's cars just as good as JGR's cars. I don't know. We'll find out in the coming weeks. But while we wait on more news on that, there was a piece of news that came out today. I'm recording this Monday night for Tuesday morning, obviously. There was a piece of news that came out today, Monday midday, that Toyota, speaking of Toyota related stuff, Toyota signed a brand new driver. Toyota decided to sign Keelan Harvick, the son of Kevin Harvick, future NASCAR Hall of Famer, current Fox broadcaster, to a contract to drive in Toyota's racing development program. I will go ahead and read the official, thanks to foxsports.com, friend of the show, Bob Pockris went and made an article on Fox Sports talking about Keelan Harvick signing to Toyota. Quote, Keelan has proven, this is TRD president Tyler Gibbs, Keelan has proven himself on track and despite his young age, has continued to be wise beyond his years with his professionalism and work ethic off of it. Okay, that's an odd quote to end on. TRD is thrilled to partner with Keelan. Yeah, I don't care. He also is going to get a sponsor. Now, I want to find out exactly here through this article. I want to make sure that I know for sure where he's racing and what he's doing. But it does not obviously list that in this article. Thanks, Bob. Real journalism being done there. Thanks, Bob. Don't talk about exactly what he's doing. I'll say this. This part of the article might be something. When it comes to driver development, manufacturers take different approaches. Both Toyota and Chevrolet have staff that helps drivers with both physical and mental development. Who cares? Toyota also works closely with Tricon, so he'll probably be in a Tricon truck soon. I saw that he was sponsored by ExxonMobil, part of this partnership, so he'll have Exxon to back him up as a sponsor. Here's the deal. I don't even care about the fact that Toyota has signed him. Because at the end of the day, is anybody shocked that Kevin Harvick's son is getting signed to drive for anybody? No, not shocking at all. Just like I won't be shocked at all when Kyle Busch's son, Braxton, gets signed, inevitably. Also probably, well, maybe do a Chevy deal. I don't know. I was going to say, obviously, Toyota, but maybe he'll be a Chevy guy now. The point is, in my opinion, why are we signing? I get it. Start him young. But I hate taking kids and signing them to contracts and signing them up like they're adults. I just don't like that. I get like a sick feeling in my stomach whenever like this kid, I shouldn't even say guy, this child is 13 years old. We were just talking about 14-year-olds last week with Natalie Decker. Obviously different circumstances, but a 13-year-old child being signed to a contract with a big time race team. I don't like it. I obviously understand why Keelan would sign it. I obviously understand why Kevin would get his son to sign it. Get some more money in the door to be able to go out and race and not have Kevin's money be on the line. And probably he gets access to all these different facilities and stuff that help him improve on his skills and everything like that. I just don't like, why are we signing 13-year-olds? Why are we signing 13-year-old children into your development program? Signing guys who can we at least wait till they're able to actually have their driver's license before we sign them to a racing deal? Like, it just feels very weird. to be signing a 13-year-old child to a racing deal? Can we at least wait till, can there be a rule where it's like, hey, if you're going to sign somebody to a racing deal of any kind, whether it's a development deal or whatever, where you're now going to probably be racing their cars. God knows Keelan will be driving some Toyota sponsored late models all over the place in the Cars Tour now. If you're going to sign, can you at least wait till he's legally able to drive on the actual road? Because signing 13-year-old children just sounds odd to me. It gets me feeling weird. Maybe it's a personal thing, but signing children's kind of weird. And I don't think it should be allowed. Any other sport, you're not seeing college, like colleges are sure at a very young age offering scholarships to kids, but that's not, in my opinion, it's not exactly the same. Maybe I'm talking myself into a corner here. Maybe I should shut the fuck up. I'm probably talking myself into a corner here that I'm contradicting myself. Either way, it feels weird, I guess. I'll stop here. It feels weird. It just, I don't like it, personally. I don't think we should be signing children to race deals. Personal opinion. Some other pieces of news that, so I mean, I guess congratulations to Keelan. Like I said, not shocked by it. Maybe shocked that it was Toyota that signed him. You kind of expect a Ford or a Chevy to sign him, because that's what Harvick drove when he was in the Cup Series and all throughout his career. And then to get Toyota to sign Keelan, kind of odd, I guess. But let's talk about some other pieces of news here before we get into this last weekend's happenings on the actual racetrack. I don't know if anybody noticed ESPN. This is how out of touch either ESPN is or this is how irrelevant NASCAR is. ESPN, go back and there's clips online. The ESPN called NASCAR the Sprint Cup Series after the Daytona 500. We haven't been the Sprint Cup Series since what, 2013, 2014? I mean, Jesus H. Christ, ESPN does not give a fuck about NASCAR at all. So if you had any hope about ESPN giving a fuck about NASCAR and wanting to get involved in the sport in the future and have NASCAR back on ESPN channels, I highly doubt it. Either that or the people that are employed by ESPN are just that shit and don't pay attention at all. Another one that I saw, a lot of people were freaking out about a few things from the Daytona 500 weekend. One of them was, I know people saw the clip, there was a fan who brought somebody's ashes to the Daytona 500. And their ceremonial goodbye to their passed away relative or friend or whoever, they ran at the Daytona 500 as the cars were coming by, and they took the urn and they whipped the ashes at the fucking cars going by, which I think is it's funny, but at the same time, like, that's not a bad idea as far as like, you know what? I want you to cremate me and I want you to bring me to like my favorite spot. Like everybody, when you pass away and you get cremated, you have an idea of like, this is my place. This is like my happy place. This is my Happy Gilmore happy place. It's either some mountain or some lakeside or the ocean or, like a special place that you liked during your life, a park or, maybe you got a cabin or, like for me, like one of my favorite places as a child or just growing up like one of my favorite places to go is Elko Speedway. That's my local short track here in Minnesota. And I've had thoughts genuinely of like, when the day comes that I pass away, unfortunately, if I'm cremated and my family has an idea of like, where should we spread his ashes? And if they were to ever come and ask me, obviously before I die, they ain't going to ask me after I'm dead. But if they ask me before I die, like, hey, when you inevitably do pass away, and if you wanted to be cremated, where would you like your ashes to be spread? There's a part of me that almost say like, spread my ashes at Elko, because that was like my childhood. I have most of my favorite memories as a kid and even now as an adult have been made at that racetrack. I've literally never had a bad experience going there. I've never had a bad memory there. Like anything that is related to that place is all happiness. So it's not, that's a happy place for me. That's somewhere where I could be like, you know what? Fucking throw my ashes at Elko and spread them there. So for some Southerner who's all about NASCAR, who loves Daytona and loves that specific race, the Super Bowl of NASCAR, to have the idea of like, spread my ashes at the 500 as the fucking cars are going by. Like, I don't hate that. I don't think that's like the worst thing. Now, the result ended up not being the greatest, because if you watch the video, the fucking guy went to go throw the ashes, and because of the cars going by, the wind that the cars created blew the fucking ashes right back into the guy's face and right back at him and into like the crowd almost. So it didn't exactly go the way that the guy planned, I assume, but it's still kind of fun. It's kind of cool. It's not the worst thing. I know people will be like, that's fucking weird or whatever. And maybe he got kicked out for doing that, because there was somebody else who I guess supposedly, I don't know if he actually did get banned or if people thinks that he should get banned. But another thing from the Daytona 500 weekend was during the Xfinity, like after the Xfinity race, Xfinity. I called it Xfinity. I'm going to call it Xfinity I'm going to probably call the O'Reilly series the Xfinity series for probably another 2 years before it's really out of my head, because it's been Xfinity for fucking, how many years now? I mean, it's been Xfinity for what, 10 years? But the O'Reilly series, Grand National series, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the secondary series, after that race, some fan who, gets those pit passes where you can walk up and down pit road, after the race, Suarez is getting interviewed and some guy comes up, he pats him on the shoulder and he goes, I don't know if he said 45 or 47. He said one of the two. He's like, yeah, go 45 or yeah, go 47. And then patted Suarez on the shoulder again and then walked away. And Suarez kind of just looked at him like, what the fuck was that? All right. Well, anyways, and then he continued on with what he was saying. There were so many people after that happened that were like, that's fucking terrible. That guy should get banned from all NASCAR races. This is why we can't have nice things. Like people were freaking like genuinely upset over the fact that somebody interrupted Suarez's interview. Maybe I'm in the minority, but this fan, assuming he's drunk, he ain't thinking because he's drunk. And even if he wasn't drunk, is what he did the worst thing on the planet? Like, is it the worst thing that you've ever seen happen on a NASCAR broadcast? Should he have jumped into somebody's interview like that and interrupted him? No. But it's not like, to me, it's worth maybe being in trouble as like a slap on the wrist. Like a warning. Don't ever do that again. You know what I mean? But don't ban the guy from the fucking racetrack, or don't ban him from all NASCAR races for life because he jumped into an interview because he's drunk. At the end of the day, He didn't run out onto the racetrack. I saw some people online comparing it to like somebody who runs out onto the football field during the football game at like the Super Bowl or something. It's like, that's not the same thing at all. That is not the same thing at all. He didn't run out on the fucking racetrack while the race was going on. Now, if that happened, or like the guy who's, there was I don't know if it was a couple years ago or whatever, but there was some guy who like climbed the fence at some race, either the Cup race or the Grand National race. He like climbed the fence and was like sitting on top of the fence at like Talladega or Daytona. And they had to throw a caution for that because he's sitting up on the fence. And now that's worth a ban for life, because at that point you are actively interrupting the race. You are actively manipulating the race, but also at the same time, like you're putting your life on the line there, because you could easily do something stupid, fall off the fucking fence, hit the ground and die, or God forbid, fall off the fucking fence and fall into one of the cars as they're going by and then really die. But even that, like, that is the equivalent to me of like running out in the football field during the Super Bowl or during a football game. That's the equivalent to me. What he did on what that guy did on pit road ain't that big of a deal to me anyways. Some people just, oh my God, freak the fuck out about that on social media. Like, grow up. Who fucking cares? Grow up. It ain't that big of a deal. Suarez wasn't even like offended. He didn't even say anything offensive. Like, if he ran up and was like, said some slurs or like, you know, swore or something like that. He didn't even say a swear word. He did the most innocent, like, hey, go 45 or hey, go 47 or whatever he said, and patted Suarez on the shoulder, kind of like a, hey, hi. No threatening, nothing bad. He's obviously drunk. So again, like I said, he's not thinking, but just a very like friendly kind of like, hey, you know, messing around because he sees the television camera. And then immediately walked away, didn't stick around, didn't have security have to jump in and separate him. That's just, to me, that's slap on the wrist, you know? Like I said, the guy's drunk, so he ain't thinking. Speaking of not thinking, maybe I shouldn't even, no pun intended, maybe I shouldn't even touch on that. But what was up with Michael Jordan? Is a weird guy in general, but there was that clip going around of him touching Tyler Reddick's son's behind and back. I don't know what's up with that. I know there's he's got ice in under his shirt. It's like, I guess in my opinion, rule of thumb, don't touch other kids' children. You know, like if you, I don't even, it's weird to me. If it's a baby, like it's a less than 1 year old baby, like months old baby, that's different. But like, it's a toddler running around and you're like, I'm not touching other people's kids. Like it's just a rule of thumb in my eyes and in my head. Don't touch other people's kids. I don't care how friendly you are with, you know, whoever that you may know. Rule of thumb, just don't touch other people's kids. Just don't do that. It's not a good move. So I'll briskly pass that now. The other thing too was like Junior teasing speaking of the 500, the only other thing really was Junior teasing the Daytona 500 and running it again, because his wife said, you know, like Amy was like, you know, you should just go run the 500. Let me tell you what, if Dale Jr. ran the Daytona 500 again, if you thought the ratings, you know, the slight ratings bump that we got this week or this year versus last year was nice, add a couple more million at least to that ratings spike that we'd get if Dale Jr. ran the 500. Trust me on that. I think that the ratings bump that we got from last year to this year on the Daytona 500 was nice, and I think it was a result of NASCAR announcing that they got rid of the playoffs, this is my personal opinion. I think fans were somewhat reinvigorated into wanting to watch the 500 that didn't previously watch the 500 last year because of the fact that NASCAR changed its point system. And they got rid of the playoffs and they went to the chase. And some people heard that, oh, the chase is back. And they remember being fans back when the chase was still around. And they went, you know what? I'm going to watch it this weekend. And I guarantee you this weekend as well, this past weekend in Atlanta, I won't know them until a couple days from now, obviously, but I guarantee you that the ratings are up from last year to this year as well, based on the Atlanta races. Like, I guarantee you. And part of it is obviously how entertaining the races were this weekend, but I think also part of it is, again, the effect of changing over from the playoffs to the chase. That being said, though, as far as if Dale Jr. were to run the 500, you'd add a couple more million at least. And if you were to ask me, do I ever think he will run it again? And he very clearly said no. And his stance is more respect for the guys that are out there and that he doesn't feel like his skills are up to par. Number one, no one gives a fuck about his skills. If he were to even lead a single lap, even if it was during a caution run where he stayed out when everyone else pit just so he could lead a lap and then come down and pit the next lap or something, I guarantee you that place would be fucking going bananas. They would be screaming at the top of their lungs with true excitement over the fact that Dale Jr. was leading at Daytona again. I don't think it's the worst thing for him to do. His opinion is, oh, everyone's skills are so much, far past me because I haven't done it in forever. Dude, that shit's in your blood, man. That shit is in your blood. It is no coincidence that you go out there in your career and your success is at the super speedways by a country mile more than any other place that you'd race. Daytona and Talladega were his bread and butter. He says his skill isn't up to par. Brother, super speedway racing. There's some skill involved, yeah, but a lot of it is luck and a lot of it is car. I don't think it would be that big of a deal. I don't understand why he has that opinion. I hope his opinion would change, and I almost hope his wife does try to pressure him into running again. Or even just run a Grand National Series Daytona race. Or a Talladega race. Do that. Even if you don't feel like doing the Cup Series race, fine. I feel like he should. I almost wish that instead of throwing Justin Allgaier into that 40 car, that he'd get in the car. Maybe a sponsor, whoever the whiskey that's Traveler's Whiskey or whatever. I almost hope that whoever that guy is who's running that company turns to Dale and goes, I'll sponsor the car again one more time in that 40 car. But God fucking damn it, get in the fucking car yourself. Get in the car. You're driving the car this year, not Justin. You are. Saw how Justin did last year with him turning himself off Hamlin's nose. This time you're getting in the car. Anyways. Plus, they probably give Dale the provisional. They gave Jimmy the provisional this year. They'll probably give Dale the provisional and make sure. Imagine if NASCAR allowed Dale Jr. to try to qualify into the Daytona 500 and then he didn't make the 500. How fucking depressing would that be? They would 1000% give him the provisional to get into the race. Even if somebody else tried to get the provisional before him and sent the paperwork in before him, they'd either say, yeah, no, sorry, Dale Jr. is getting that provisional, not you. Or they just literally create another provisional just to make sure Dale got in. Okay. I've pretty much touched on everything else that happened from last week into this week. So let's finally talk about the happenings of the weekend. We saw 3 races. The trucks, the Grand National, and the Cup Series were on at Atlanta this past weekend. Overall thoughts of the weekend? A lot of people who are diehard NASCAR fans will sit here and say, oh my God, I miss old Atlanta. I hate the fact that they have this new super speedway-esque racing, this draft style racing at Atlanta now. And we don't get the true, I don't even know what the term I'm trying to look for here is, but like the true hardcore fans version of racing. They really want to see, the old style racing that we used to have at Atlanta. While I miss that myself to a degree, you can know, and everybody's saying this, so I know I'm not fighting against a wave here. You cannot deny that Atlanta's one of the most entertaining races to watch as a fan. All 3 races this weekend were fun. All 3 races this weekend were entertaining. All 3 races this weekend had me on the edge of my seat. And they weren't wreck fest. Some of them were bad. Funny enough, looking at the caution totals, take a guess. Who had the least amount of cautions this weekend? I bet no one going into the weekend had the Truck Series on their bingo card for the least amount of cautions in their respective race. The Truck Series only had 3 cautions in the race. The Grand National Series had 7, and the Cup Series had 10. That surprises me. I thought the Truck Series race would be for sure the most cautions wise, but the Truck Series so far in the first 2 races this year, a big improvement as far as the quality of racing that we're getting. I mean, I made that comment on last week's show about how, on the broadcast there is, we only had 6 cautions at Daytona for the truck race. That's good for us. Well, hey, they improved twice as much this week because they only had 3 cautions this past weekend in Atlanta. So, surprisingly enough, the trucks had the least amount of cautions, but they were all fun. They were all great racing. And even though Cup had 10 cautions, some of them were single spins, and some of them were mistakes. People get loose or something like that off the corner. Some of them were people making really stupid mistakes, which we'll talk about when we go to the Cup Series here in a minute. But funny enough, the Trucks was the most tame race. And you saw good, solid racing. I didn't think that, anything that happened in the race was too out of the ordinary or, somebody making some dumb mistake. I mean, a bunch of guys, just looking at Racing Reference here, I mean, Eckes was out for a transmission issue. Daniel Hemrick was out for a suspension issue. Justin S. Carroll, I don't know who the fuck that is, was out for a rear gear issue. And only 2 guys didn't finish the race because of crashes. Everybody else finished the race. Kyle Busch won in an amazing move by the end. I mean, the thing is, it's like, okay, Kyle, you're beating up on kids and, very less talented and less experienced people. So that's not surprising. And he's in some of the best equipment being Inspire. So, that doesn't shock me too much. What shocked me is the fact that Carson actually stuck with Kyle. And he obviously said in his post-race interview, like, I didn't want to stick with him. I wanted to fucking win the race myself. But he had his own issues, I guess, and the fact that he didn't think he was going to be able to win the race. So he'd rather see a Spire car win than somebody else. Hey, y'all make fun. Y'all talk shit about Carson, but at times he can be a good teammate. So Carson ended up helping Kyle get the win. It was nice to see Kyle Busch back in victory lane again, even though he is kind of an asshole still. Another nice run for Gio Ruggiero. I mean, right now you're seeing obviously the Cup guys are going to be at the front dominating these truck races when they're going to be in the trucks. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how the points shakes out a bit. Gio Ruggiero's had a very good start to the season for the trucks. And I haven't looked at the point standings yet. I don't want to look at the point standings yet until we get a few more races into the season here for the trucks. But you're already kind of seeing, you're kind of getting that feeling already Again, this is 2 drafting tracks, so it's kind of tough to really tell, but Gio's been pretty good to start the season. So I'd say for the rest of the season, for the trucks wise, keep an eye on Gio. Obviously, keep an eye on Majeski. I think that he'll be pretty good there. Lane Riggs has had a rough start. Rough at Daytona last week, rough this past week at Atlanta. They got to figure out what the fuck is going on there. I mean, they finished 27th in the truck race this week, and they were not good last week either at Daytona. They got to figure their shit out there. Rams kind of just been existing. You know, their lineup of guys is not the most impressive. I mean, Justin Haley's okay. He's been rough in the Cup Series the last couple of years, but you kind of expect because of the somewhat success he had in Xfinity, you kind of think, and the fact that he was a Cup guy for the last how many years, you kind of hope that like he'd come in and be somewhat of like a Daniel Hemrick in the Xfinity Series, where it's like, okay, he's not winning every race, but he's somewhat at the front. Not to mention the fact that, like, okay, if you even want to say Justin Haley's not great besides super speedway racing, guys, we've had 2 drafting tracks to start the season, and Justin Haley has just kind of existed. He has not really been at the front. He's not been leading laps. He's not been a contender. He's just kind of existed. Now he gets a top 10 this week in Atlanta, but again, you'd kind of hope for a little bit more of an impact from this Ram team. Again, they just started. I understand. There's probably going to be some kinks and stuff that they're going to need to work out, but you'd almost just kind of hope for a little bit more off the jump. But again, like I said, pretty good race from the Truck Series side. Now, and a little bit more uneventful compared to these other 2 races here. Now I got to take a drink here before I get into this. I almost said Xfinity. I almost just geared myself up to say Xfinity. The O'Reilly Series, Grand National Series. This one had some more interesting stuff. So, number one, shocked that it finally happened. Sheldon Creed finally won a fucking race. Holy goddamn shit. 15 second place finishes, they said in the broadcast. And instead of going out there and winning on a road course, or instead of going out there and winning on a 1.5 miles or a short track or something like that, he wins in the most out of nowhere, fell into his lap way that you could possibly win. Where on the last lap, Austin Hill once again proves why, and I'm sorry, I know people hate Austin Hill, but I have to say this. He is one of the best Grand National Series super speedway / drafting track racers in the series history. He's out there leading again, shocker, on the last lap, and he just got out there too far, too early, and allowed Ross Chastain to get a run on him and get up to him and make a move. And that was honestly, that was Austin's biggest mistake, is the fact that he just got out there too far and he did it too early. That being said, that's Austin Hill's mistake. He messed up. Ross gets a big run on him, goes to the inside. Austin has to make that block, because if he doesn't make that block, then Ross is going to win. Ends up slowing them both down, and then Sheldon, just being the 3rd place car, gets lucky, gets a run on the outside, and it was basically handed to him. At the end of the day, you run second 15 times, you're okay. Now, at the end of the day, is Sheldon, why did I say that again? Is Sheldon Creed going to be a Cup Series driver one day? Probably not. And that's okay. I think we're finally settling to a point here now in NASCAR with all of these recent retirements that we've had over the last how many years. I think we're finally somewhat starting to settle into a spot where we have our Cup guys now who are Cup guys and are not moving. And we finally somewhat have a stable set of Grand National Series guys. Over the last how many years? I mean, it feels like 10 years now. It's been somewhat of a revolving door of guys who are just immediately, like almost the expectation is they're going to spend 1 year in trucks, they're going to spend 1 year in Grand National, and then they're immediately a Cup guy because they are going to be replacing some driver who's retiring this year. We're finally somewhat now in a spot where, okay, Sheldon Creed is a Grand National Series driver. There's no expectation of him to move up. Sam Mayer is a Grand National Series driver. There is no expectation of him to move up. Same with Brandon Jones. I think at this point, same with Austin Hill. Because I'm not going to say Jesse Love because my expectation now, I think, is Jesse has surpassed Brandon, or not Brandon, but he's surpassed Brandon, but he's also surpassed Austin Hill as far as being the guy that if and when Kyle Busch either retires soon or he leaves RCR at the end of this year, that somebody in the Grand National Series is going to replace him through the system of RCR. I'm thinking it's going to be Jesse Love. Jesse Love's in that 33 car this weekend at COTA. He's got some races this year in that 33 car. If he impresses and does well, I think he is the pick to fill that 8 car if and when at the end of the season Kyle does decide to leave RCR. So Jesse's not a Grand National Series, a stable guy who's going to stay here. I think he's still somebody that would move up. Guys like Jeb Burton he's not ever moving up. Brendan Poole is going to be a guy here forever. Looking down the list here, Sammy Smith. I don't see an avenue where he can move up. Same thing with Carson Quaffle almost. I almost feel like those guys are kind of stuck here. Hendrick's the next step for those guys being Chevy guys. There's no room for them. Larson, Byron, and Elliott aren't going anywhere. And I'm going to get into Bowman later. But 3 out of those 4 rides aren't changing over the next probably 7 to 10 years. Barring any acts of God or, some big personal issues that would cause them to want to leave Hendrick for some reason, I don't see any of those rides opening up. So they're kind of stunted. Justin Allgaier has been, if people remember, years ago, there was the one old guy who was still very good in the Grand National Series that raced for Junior Motorsports. It was Elliott Sadler, was in that one car forever. Now, the new Elliott Sadler is Justin Allgaier. He has already been a Grand National Series guy. Harrison Burton, to me, is a Grand National Series guy. He is just good enough to compete here. He was in the playoffs last year with the AM racing team. To me, he's fine. He's good enough to be a Grand National Series driver. I didn't mention William Sawalich because I feel like, again, if and when the time that Denny Hamlin retires here in the next couple of years, Sawalich is probably taking that ride. And it's the same thing, like I said, with Jesse Love. If and when Kyle Busch leaves, somebody's got to take that spot. Jesse Love will move up. Beyond that, there's going to be a day where Brad is going to leave. So somebody's going to have to take Brad's spot. But there are so little Fords in the field. I mean, you got Nick Sanchez, who's in a Ford. Luke Fenhouse is in a Ford. Those are literally the only 2 Ford Grand National Series cars that are even on the fucking track. So I would say that somebody from the Chevy or Toyota camp is going to take that spot inevitably when Brad retires or Brad hangs it up. But as the near future, there's very little spots now. There's very little openings for somebody to take that opportunity and to take that spot. And even I'd say look back to the Truck Series. There's more Ford guys in the Truck Series right now that you would be more willing to probably take that spot in a Cup car. Does Jake Garcia take that next spot driving a Ford in the Truck Series? We saw Hocevar make that jump from truck to Cup. Does Jake Garcia make that jump this year, talent-wise, and take that opportunity? Does he take that spot? Does Chandler Smith get an opportunity in Cup when Brad retires, driving a Ford there? I don't see Ben Rhodes getting that opportunity. He seems like a truck guy for life. Lane Riggs, I need to see something. Haven't seen it yet. Ty Majeski, maybe, could be that pick for Brad's spot. But like, there seemingly is a nice large group of guys in the Grand National Series that are going to stay there for a while. Okay. So let's get into this Grand National Series race here. Let me take a drink quick. Besides the finish, I was requested by somebody to talk about this, and I went back and looked at it again. On lap 4, lap 5, one of the two, the 17 car of Corey Day made a move going 3 wide off of 4, splitting. I don't remember who's on the inside, but I know Ryan Sieg was on the outside. Basically resulting, because they were just 2x2 lanes. If you watch the Grand National Series race, you'll know what I'm talking about. It was just 2x2 lanes, and Corey saw an opportunity in the 17 car, Corey Day, the Rick Hendrick car. He saw an opportunity, he saw an opening that was only kind of there just because of the way that they're going through the tri-oval. He shot the gap. He got to the inside of Ryan Sieg, making it 3 wide, and Ryan obviously did not expect it. Ryan's just riding along. Now, granted, he came up the track just a little bit through turn 4, and then kind of somewhat corrected himself off of 4, coming through the tri-oval. Obviously thinking, hey, we're just riding here. It's lap 4. We're not even close to the end of the first stage yet. We're just feeling out what we have. You know, these guys didn't even really get to have the cars on the track at all before the race started, with all the rain and stuff, and there being no practice, and that's a whole nother rant, obviously, by the way. I feel like there should be no weekend where the cars are not on the track for at least one small practice session. I guess, unless, of course, like the circumstances we saw this past weekend, unless there's rain, that's the only exception I would make. That being said, we're just feeling our cars out. It's lap 4. Like, there's no rush. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing. We're not fighting for anything here. There's no reason to be 3 wide. But yet Corey shoots the gap. He gets to the inside of Ryan Sieg. Ryan wrecks. Ryan went on the radio afterwards, basically saying he does that every week. I don't understand why he's even in that car. Now, I will say this, because I'm going to Google this guy's name and just see what comes up. Let's just look at his Wikipedia page. How about that? Corey Day's Wikipedia page. So, quite literally, I had never heard of Corey Day until he got into this Hendrick Grand National Series car. I'd literally never heard of him. It looks like he had raced some in the ARCA series in 2024. He ran 3 races in ARCA. 3. At Salem, Bristol, and Kansas. Looks like all these resulted in something. No wins. Okay, that can't be right. Yeah, no. So he got 3 top 10s. I'm looking at his Wikipedia page. That's why I'm saying, like, that can't be right. For some reason on his Wikipedia page, either somebody's trolling or something, because they have best finish 41st in the ARCA series. And then, yeah, somebody's trolling here. It can't be right. He raced in the truck series, obviously, in 2024. Finishing 18th in his debut. let's also just look at Racing Reference. I don't know why I'm looking at Wikipedia. That's very stupid of me. So I'm taking a look here. I want to know this guy's stats before I say anything. Because Ryan Sieg, that is, has a very harsh stance that he should not be in that car. And like I said, I hadn't heard of the guy literally until last year when he just started racing in the then Xfinity Series, now O'Reilly Series. Okay, so in 2025, he had 11 races in the Grand National Series. He had 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s with an average finish of 15th. In the previous years, he raced in the Truck Series in 2024, finishing 4th. He had no top 5s and no top 10s in the Truck Series, and his average finish was 21st. That was 2024. And the 9 races he had in 2025 in the Truck Series, his average finish was 15th. Remember, this is the Truck Series. And I know some of those were in the 7 car, which again is a Spire car, so it's, you know what I mean? It's not shit equipment. In 2024 and 2025, in the ARCA Menard Series, he only had 3 starts in 2024 with an average finish of 8th, and then 3 starts in 2025 with an average finish of 18th. In 2024, by the way, he finished top 5 once and top 10 twice. ARCA East in 2024, he only raced once. He finished 7th. And then the ARCA West, he raced twice in 2025 and finished 8th. So I'm not in the minority here of like, where the fuck did this guy even come from? Is he related? Now I need to find out. Is Corey Day related to Hendrick in any way? Let's just ask ChatGPT. I'm literally going to pull up ChatGPT right now, and I need to know, is Corey Day related to Rick Hendrick? ChatGPT is looking this up. No, Corey Day is not related to the family of Rick Hendrick. So here's my question. I'm not going to ask ChatGPT this. I'm going to leave this out for you to leave in the comments section. If you've made it to this portion of the video, why is he in that car? Why is he in that car? Is he this unbelievably good super late model racer? Does he have this storied success in the Cars Tour? And even if he does, the finishes that he has had in the Truck Series and the ARCA Series do not back up whatever talent he may have had in the super late models or in the Cars Tour or whatever the fuck he did before this. I'm with Ryan here. Why is he in that car? I want to know the answer to this because this guy literally, I have no idea where he came from. Listen, there have been some guys who have came into the Truck Series, into the ARCA Series, into the Grand National Series, who have just shown up out of nowhere, and you go, where the fuck did this kid come from? This kid's 18 years old, 19 years old, and you have no idea who the fuck he is. And then all it takes is like, they can literally tell you on the broadcast, like, oh, he has done this, and this. Or he came up through this system or whatever. They'll give you some ideas to how he got here. I have yet to hear anything on this dude. I don't know anything about him. Or how he got this ride. Who the fuck put him in this ride? Obviously Rick Hendrick did, but like, who recommended him? Who said, hey, this Corey Day guy is very fucking good. He should be the one in the 17 car. By the way, full-time driving for Rick Hendrick in the Grand National Series. So he is also on that path of all the other guys, if you're going to ask me, not based off of actual success or not based off of actual statistics, if you were to ask me just baseline out of all of the Chevy guys who are currently in the Grand National Series, if and when Bowman does get booted out of his number 48 car, who is probably getting picked out of the Chevy camp? There's a chance that it's Corey Day. And it has nothing to do with his success on the track. It's simply to do with the fact that he's in the Rick Hendrick car. He's not driving for Junior Motorsports. He's driving for Rick Hendrick. So my question is where the fuck did this kid come from, number one? Number two, where is this supposed talent enough to justify being put in that car? That's the car that Chase Elliott drove part-time, William Byron drove part-time, Kyle Larson drove part-time, Alex Bowman drove part-time. All of their Cup guys would drive part-time in that exact car every week. So how is it that this guy, out of everybody that you could have chose, there's so many people in the Truck Series, in the ARCA Series, in other smaller Chevy teams that you could have picked over Corey Day, who have shown you that they have talent. Nick Sanchez was out there this offseason. Do I think that Nick Sanchez is the greatest thing since sliced bread? Do I think that he's this unbelievably talented driver who just, it hasn't been shown out yet? No. But he has shown more than Corey Day has. Going down the list, I'm just going down the Grand National Series list here. I'm going down the list, sorry. I'm passing over a lot of names because I'm like, I'm not going to justify some of these people. Here's another one. Carson Quaffle, granted he's a Junior Motorsports guy, coming into the season did not have a full-time ride. And Carson made it to the Final Four of the Grand National Series last year and was one of the guys who could have possibly won the championship. And yet somehow, not only did he not get a full-time ride at his own team, but Rick Hendrick didn't see that and go, hey, he doesn't have a full-time ride in the one car. Why don't we just put him in the 17? Why not put Carson in that spot? Let's take a look again. We talked about the Truck Series. Let's take a look back at the Truck Series. Let's see. Let's just talk specifically Chevy at first. I'm going down the list of Chevy guys here. I have heard more about Tyler Reif than ever anything about Corey Day. It's somebody who at least has more name notoriety and probably is better. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Tyler Reif is with a NASCAR right now, so it's not exactly shit equipment. Christian Eckes is currently driving the 91. He was just in the Grand National Series not too long ago. Was he the greatest? No. But there's more stability there. There's more name notoriety there. There's more. I would put more money that maybe Eckes could do okay with that 17 car versus this guy who I don't even know. Now, maybe Corey Day will be okay. Maybe he'll run well. I don't know. We got a whole year to try to figure it out. But he has ran the 17 car, this exact Hendrick Motorsports car, the last year, the 11 races he ran, and this year. He will have ran the same car last year through the 11 races he ran in the O'Reilly Series, the Grand National Series. His average finish was 15th. So this is a guy that you'd expect, if he's going to be put in that car, you expect a lot. And you expect more. And honestly, You expect him to be a little bit smarter than flat 4, throwing it 3 wide on somebody for really no reason other than I just see hole and I go. He's a young guy. Young guys make mistakes, understandably. But that was a very dumb move. Should not have done it. There's the you can get off the gas. The Grand National Series cars are much well known. Like, we know that, okay, the Cup Series, it's go, 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 go all the time. The Grand National Series, with the way the cars are designed, as far as in the drafting tracks, it's okay to back out. It's okay to wait a second. It's okay to wait on lap 4. You'll get it back. If you're smart, you'll get it back. Hell, you could get it back in the next fucking corner. It's unnecessary at that moment. Now, there's a reason why I'm saying in that moment, because I'll talk about Carson Hocevar later. But in that moment, it's unnecessary. And it's too early. It's just unneeded. I will remain to be seen as far as Corey Day goes. I want to be proven wrong about that as far as not understanding why he's in that car. I don't know, whoever it was, whether it was Rick Hendrick or Kyle, because I've heard people be like, it's Kyle Larson that's the one that chose him to be in that car. Well, number one, we've obviously seen this weekend as well, Kyle Larson's decision-making isn't exactly the greatest. His decision-making over his entire career has been shown to not be the greatest. So, just because you're great at driving does not mean that you're the best at picking talent. And maybe that's an oversight here with this Corey Day guy. I want to be proven wrong about him, I guess. But we'll see. As far as the rest of the Xfinity race, beyond that lap 4 shenanigans, you saw your regular stuff. The Josh Williams took a hell of a fucking hit. To me, some of these other wrecks that happen, they're racing deals. No big stupid stuff that happened, kind of like the Corey Day thing. And, people will justify the Corey Day thing because he finished 4th, Hey, the guy finished 4th. He did something really fucking stupid on lap 4 that could have easily just ended with him ending his day that early. But, hey, he finished 4th, so all's well that ends well. The only other thing I'll end it on, I'm going to talk about Austin Hill again. So if you don't like hearing about Austin Hill, skip this. Austin is now going to take a step back. He will not be racing for the lead nearly as much for the rest of until we get to another drafting track, really, I think. Or maybe until we get to Vegas. He'll be competitive at Vegas. From what I remember. He'll be top 5, top 3. But for these next few races, I almost said Xfinity. Are they at St. Pete as well? I think they're at St. Pete. The Grand National Series is. Whether they're at St. Pete or Coda, it doesn't matter. Point is, he's going to take a step back as far as being up front and being in the top 5 and the top 10. That being said, this past weekend again, like there's no more argument in my eyes anymore when it comes to Austin Hill and his ability on super speedways and drafting tracks. There's no more argument. The guy had a car for most of the race that you could see was wrecking loose, wrecking out of control, like all over the place. He did not have the car. It was obvious from qualifying, or I think they had qualifying. Yeah, they had qualifying. It was obvious from qualifying. They didn't have the speed. It was obvious throughout the race that RCR did not have the car and did not have the speed. And yet somehow he put that thing into position at the end of the race, leading in the final lap. And he only made one mistake that cost him the race, which was getting too far out there on the last lap and allowing Ross to get a run on him and screw him up going into 3. To me, it's not an argument. Austin is one of, if not the best. Again, I'm going to preface this and get very specific because it is a very specific thing. He is one of the best Grand National Series drafting track drivers that the series has ever had. It's not only just a statistical fact that he's one of the best Grand National Series drafting track drivers ever, but it is consistently now Daytona after Atlanta, after Talladega, after Daytona, after Atlanta, after Talladega. Every time if your money literally is not on Austin Hill, you're just praying that something like this, some miracle thing happens that doesn't allow Austin to win. Because Austin has also shown that most times he's not making these mistakes. Even with how out of control Austin's car was, and even with how he didn't have the car under him, he struggled for most of the race. There were times where he was like just dropping in the pack not because, oh, I'm intentionally doing it, or I just don't have the run with me, or somebody isn't helping me. It's because he's literally wrecking out of control. He's so loose off the corners and so loose in the middle of the corners that he's having to like fight the wheel so much that he's losing speed and he's losing time. And yet he somehow, even with that car, had the most laps led in this race at Atlanta. He still somehow had the most laps led. You can hate Austin Hill as a person. You can think that he's a whiner. You can think that he's a bitch on track as far as some of the stuff that he does. You can think, you can not like the way he sounds in interviews, or just him as a, whatever. You can not like him as a person or as a driver. But it's now at the point that at this very specific thing, you have to respect it. You have to somewhat respect it. I am not Austin's biggest fan. I don't hate him nearly as much as other people do. And maybe I should. His antics don't personally offend me nearly as much as other people, as much as it affects other people. I honestly think, though, that most of the people, and I hate doing this because it's just haters who don't like him. I don't think that the hate towards Austin Hill would be nearly as much as it is if he wasn't as successful as he is in this specific field. Because he just gets to go out there and dominate at these drafting tracks. And therefore it justifies him keeping in this ride and justifies the respect that he's given by, people in the booth, by peers who do respect him, by his team, by continuously giving him that ride and continuously giving him that opportunity. That justifies him having that ride and justifies him having that spot. And people hate it because there's nothing that anybody can do about it. He said it in this post-race interview after Daytona. It's like, all these people want to try to beat me. They do anything and everything they can to try to stop me, but then they end up helping me in the way by the end because they're all fighting each other. If you really hated him that much and you really didn't want to see Austin Hill win, you literally could, Junior Motorsports as a whole, could literally sit there and gang up on the four of them against him. I mean, there's a lot of these teams that have the numbers advantage over RCR. Haas doesn't, but Junior Motorsports does. Joe Gibbs does. Joe Gibbs has got 4 cars out there too. If they really wanted to, they could gang up on him and stop him and not allow him to beat him, but they won't. And, as they should, they should want to try to win for themselves, but that inevitably comes down to, okay, well then when you're all racing each other, you're not helping each other as a team anymore, then it actually comes to who's the most skilled at this. And yes, there is skill that goes with super speedway and drafting track racing. It's not all, hands on the wheel, throttle control kind of skill. It's not as much that, but it is more so, it's a chess game. I don't remember who made this quote, but somebody had the quote as far as describing super speedway racing is, it's chess at 200 miles an hour. And it really is. It's about knowing where to put yourself in any given situation and trying to be 10 steps ahead of the field as far as knowing where to be and, what lane and what run to take, what run not to take. Do you want to be at the front? Do you want it to be at the back? Do you want to be in the middle? Do you want to be in the outside lane, the inside lane? Do you want to be near this guy? Do you not want to be near this guy? Do you want this person as your partner to work with in the pack? Do you want to back out of this run? Do you want to take this run? It's a chess game. And nobody's better at chess at 200 miles an hour than Austin Hill is in specifically the Grand National Series. So you got to give him props for it, Anyways, that's all I have on the Grand National Series race. Again, another good race. It should be very interesting next weekend because now we're getting out of the drafting stuff and we'll get to see road course racing. Oh, yay. I'll have so much to talk about next week. Let's get into the Cup Series race, the meat and potatoes of this thing. This podcast is not nearly as long as I thought it would be. I thought I'd be 2 hours in at this point. If you're still sticking around, you're still listening, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you listening in this far and wanting to hear my opinions on the happenings of the weekend. But let's talk about the Cup Series race. Let's dive into this thing. Tyler Reddick, I kind of shit-talked him last week, and I kind of got to give him credit this week. With a broken frickin' car, the right front, basically torn off. He goes out there, leads 53 laps. Him and his teammate Bubba, 23-11 last year, as a whole, really seemingly took a step back. A couple years ago, Tyler Reddick was the regular season champion, was one of the favorites to win the championship. Bubba was winning races, I think. And last year, they both took a good step back. Whatever reason you want to, give as to why that happened, who knows? It seems like year to year, there are teams that fluctuate up and down. I mean, there's the Joey Logano thing. Either he's winning the championship or he's like missing the playoffs almost. He's like the last guy to make it into the playoffs, and he's bounced in round 16. Round of 16. There's no in between with him. And so some people, yes, they fluctuate up and down. They have good years, they have bad years. And last year was a bad year for 23-11. This year to start, they have not had a better start. Back-to-back for Tyler Reddick. Congratulations to him. He is, I believe, only the 6th person to have ever gone back-to-back to start the year, winning the first 2 races of the season. The last guy to do that, I believe, was Matt Kenseth in 2011, 2010. One of those 2 years. So it's been over a decade since that's been done. And Matt Kenseth is no slouch. Kevin Harvick isn't no slouch either. But Matt Kenseth is no slouch. Jeff Gordon, I think, was the person to do that. The last person to do that before Kenseth. He's no slouch either. So pretty good company for Tyler Reddick there. To me, a great start for them, a great start for 23XI as a whole. It's maybe a thing in my head of like, you don't want to be good early. It's not bad to be good early, but it's been a trend seemingly over the last God knows how many years in the sport and in sports in general. It's not just NASCAR, but in sports in general, it's nice to start out great and be winning right off the bat. Don't be surprised if Tyler Reddick maybe could win this weekend at COTA as well. There's a chance that he could win at COTA as well. Tyler Reddick is a good road course racer as well. So if he keeps this momentum going into next weekend at COTA, there's a chance he wins there too. So look out for that. Starting the season 3 for 3 would be a pretty fucking good start for him. My only hesitation, like I said, is that the 23XI crew, do you want to peak early? Maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe it's not a real thing in some people's eyes, but the trend is there of teams in either stick and ball sports or in motorsports that start off their respective seasons hot and start off their respective seasons really good. And then by the end of the year, they taper off. There's a chance of that here with Reddick. And that would be my only hesitation for 23XI is, hey, you're starting off strong. You're happy about your little lawsuit victory there or whatever. If you want to claim it to be a victory or whatever. You're happy about the off-season stuff going your way. And you're starting off the season strong with a 500 win. And now you just won in Atlanta. Hey, by the way, I also should say these are just 2 drafting tracks. So there's a bit of luck involved. There's skill, like I said earlier, but there is a little bit of luck involved. But this weekend is when, it really starts. And so, but that's why I'm also saying Reddick is a very good road course racer. I could see him winning. My only hesitation, like I said, is, are you peaking too early? You know what I mean? Like, is 23XI as a whole peaking too early? Because other teams are going to catch up. Penske's going to catch up. Hendrick's going to catch up. Joe Gibbs is going to catch up. Trackhouse is going to catch up. And it's going to start this weekend. Like, Trackhouse is going to catch up this weekend because they're going to probably have 2 guys who are either winning the race or finishing top 5 or top 3. SVG is either going to be competing for the win or he's going to be in the top 3. And same thing with the guy in purple. According to Joey Logano, the guy in purple, Connor Zilic. Those 2 are going to be either competing for the win or they're finishing top 5, top 3, top 3, top 5 at worst. That's how good they are. So now it starts to kind of somewhat come back. You'll probably see a new winner this weekend. I'm not saying that it's a guarantee. There's a chance Tyler Reddick can go back to back to back. I don't know if that's been done before in NASCAR. I don't believe that has. Or somebody's won the first 3 races of the season. Maybe it's been done before. There's a chance we can see it this weekend. As far as the race, though, a lot of single car spins. Guys are on edge. These cars are inevitably on edge as a whole anyways. So that doesn't surprise me. If you want to talk about bad moves, because we'll get into Carson later. If you want to talk about bad moves, you got to talk about Ty. There's 2 people I want to talk about that are kind of on the hot seat here. One is actually on the hot seat, and the other one is not on the hot seat because I don't think they'll ever be on the hot seat unless they put themselves on the hot seat. The one guy who is on the hot seat but will never actually be on the hot seat because his name's on the fucking door is Ty. Ty Gibbs made, if you want to talk about bad moves, he had a bad move in this race himself. The Ty Gibbs experience, I was on board. I thought that the talent he showed in the Grand National Series very early and very quickly had me thinking that this dude could be the guy that carried the Joe Gibbs torch into the future. It made sense. His name's on the door. He is really showing a lot of talent in the lower series against some decent talent at the time. And he was kind of, at the road courses specifically, yes, but at other tracks too, he was the fastest. He was blowing people out of the water at some tracks. And he has hit the Cup Series, and it's been a wake-up call. They have tried to make team changes for him, and it has not worked. He is now, it's no longer like, oh, rookie woes or sophomore woes. Like this has been going on for a while. There has been times where he's been at the front, not leading laps, but he's been towards the front, top 5, top 10, running somewhat consistently there, but he has not, I don't think he's had race-winning speed in like any race as far as oval related. Maybe he's had race-winning speed at a road course at some point that I can't remember, but I don't remember him having a single race on an oval where he actually had race-winning speed at all. And he's in a Joe Gibbs car where the other 3 cars in his respective team are either competing for the win every week or have somewhat race-winning speed by the end of the race. If you want to talk about even the Toyota camp as a whole in the Cup Series, Tyler Reddick, as it has been shown, has been winning races. Chase Briscoe, who was really rocky in the Ford camp with Stewart-Haas, he had a somewhat of a slow start in the Toyotas once he replaced Martin Truex here. But towards the end of last season, he started to pick it up, and he was winning races last year. Bubba Wallace, going back to the 2311 camp, he has been winning races. Is he the most talented? No. Does he deserve the ride that he's in? Yes. He has earned, maybe not deserved, he has earned the ride that he is in. He has won races. He has been competitive. Not even to mention, I know the dude is like, he has shown his depression, as he seemingly does every time he does not win a race, but he has definitely shown his depression over these last 2 weeks of being very close to winning. And he has seemingly, like the Atlanta thing, I'll just get this out of the way. His move at the end of the race at Atlanta this past weekend, he made a mistake. He should have never left the bottom lane. If it was Fatass up there in the fucking, above the crowd in the spotter stand telling him to go up, then it's Fatass's fault that got him to go up. And okay, it's not Bubba's fault. But regardless, whoever made that decision to come up and try to block Carson at the end of the race, that was a dumb fucking move, because you're going from a Toyota teammate who is more than likely going to stick with you to now a Chevrolet car that has already shown in the race that he's going to wreck anybody in front of him to try to get past them and try to get to the lead. You're not even a Chevy, so it's not even like he's going to be even a little bit easier with you. He is going to bulldoze you out of the way because you're a Toyota. So whether it was Bubba or it was Fatass sitting up in the spotter stand that told them to go up, whoever made that decision was fucking stupid. So it's worth being depressed about that, Bubba. But again, Bubba has earned that ride at Toyota. Denny Hamlin, don't even need to say it. He's one of the best Toyota drivers they have. I'm not a fan of John Hunter, but he has at times been okay. And not only that, but it is so obvious that Legacy Motor Club Toyota team of him and Eric Jones is so obviously the third Toyota team. Like they are mid-level at best. Their best finishes they're going to get is on super speedways and drafting tracks. As it's been shown, John Hunter has, they were talking about it last weekend, John Hunter has the best average finish at the Daytona 500 out of everybody in the field. They couldn't stop mentioning that. But again, it's a third team, and even with the third team, the first couple of years of Legacy Motor Club was rough. But the last year and so far the start of this year, it almost looks like they have a little bit more speed. So they're a solid mid-level team. So you can't really compare them in that to me. Christopher Bell won races, nearly won championships. His spot is spoken for in the Toyota camp. The only other person, the quite literally only person in the entire Toyota camp that is worse than Ty Gibbs is Riley Herbst. And I think quite literally everybody is shouting that Riley Herbst should not be in the 35 car. That Toyota in 2311, like everyone's shouting that Corey Heim should be in that car and not Riley Herbst. Everyone is shouting for Corey Heim to be in that car. And no one understands why Corey is not in that 35 and not a full-time Cup guy. Especially over Riley Herbst. So it's now gotten to the point where Ty is like, okay, Ty, sure, you're not going to ever probably get fired. It'll be on you to leave, but it doesn't change the fact that there's no improvement shown. And like, even when everything goes right, it's not great. It's teens to close to a top 10 at best, but it's not even consistent top 10 finishes. And when everyone else on your team is either competing for wins, competing for championships, always in the top 5, always in the top 10. If they're outside the top 10, it's a giant disappointment. And you're the only one that's like, hey, we got a top 15, great finish. Like, you're the outlier, and there needs to be something improved there. At this point, it's not the team, it's not the crew chief, it's not the engineers in the car, it's not your tire changers, it's not anybody else. It's Ty. Ty, you gotta step up. You gotta get better. You gotta figure out what the fuck is holding you back, because at this point you are solidly the fourth guy in that team, and your now expectation is like he's probably going to finish top 20 at best. Like, it's rough. But again, there's no talk about Ty because the expectation, and we know it's like he's not getting fired. Ty isn't going to get fired. He'll be there for, again, as long as he wants to be there. So you kind of just got to move on from it. You kind of just, you almost just ignore him at this point because he's non-existent on the track, and you know that car isn't going to change drivers. So I almost hope that Ty gets better. I mean, ever since Ty got quiet and we haven't seen him do anything on track. We haven't heard any shit talk about him. We haven't heard him have any issues with anybody. He's just been quiet. He's just existed. And ever since he just started existing, he has fallen off the map. So there's got to be some improvement this year. And this is the year. This is the year where you need to see improvement. Like, I almost want to say it, like, he has to win a race this year. He's got to win a race. Figure it out at one of these road courses, dude. Figure it out in San Diego. Figure it out at one of these ovals that you can get the setup to hit right and to fucking find the speed for once, just one fucking time. Win one race. Show that you got something. Because if you don't, who knows what could happen? Now, to the other person on the hot seat that I think this could be his last year. This is a guy who has raced with this top-end team. I'm going to let you try to predict here. I kind of hinted at it earlier already, so maybe I gave it away. But somebody who has raced with a top team for quite a while, has won races. He has won races. But for what seemingly been like 5, 6 years, maybe even like 7 years. I don't know how many years he's been there. It feels like it's been fucking 7 years. And yes, there's been wins off and on, but never any true consistent success, to the point now where I could see a Chevy guy in the Grand National Series getting the call to be in this car. This is the year that Alex Bowman has to figure it out. And he's got to show a little bit more than what he's shown. Consistency can get him to stay. But it has to be consistent top 10s, consistent top 5s, consistent leading laps, getting stage points, finding a way to keep himself in the top 10, top 8 in the point standings. And he has to show something with that 48 team, because he is the other one out of these top teams that is so firmly the fourth guy. It's insane. For a while there, it was Kyle Larson was 1, Chase Elliott was a solid 2, and William Byron was early. So it almost depended on the week where it was Alex Bowman or William Byron. Now, granted, this was like William Byron's rookie year. Like, Byron had just gotten to the Cup Series and was just getting his feet wet. But now, with Byron almost winning a championship, being in the championship 4, Larson winning a championship this past year, Chase Elliott, even though he's not winning championships, he's still winning races. He's still running up front. Harvick said it best in his little podcast there he did earlier a couple weeks ago, where he talked about the fact that this new chase format benefits, funny enough, Chase the most, because his deal is about consistency. He's not winning every week, but he's not finishing 30th and then winning, and then 30th and then winning. His deal is consistency, consistent top 5s, consistent top 10s, consistently leading laps, consistently getting stage points, always just being there and accruing more and more points. So, with that all being said, what is Alex Bowman's deal? Well, Alex Bowman's deal seemingly is finishing outside the top 10, kind of being like the Ty Gibbs of Hendrick Motorsports. Top 15s at best, and then at least he has the whole deal of he'll randomly win a race. You know, when you think of guys who won at the Chicago Street Course over the few years that they did it, do you really think that out of all the names that you could think, Alex Bowman would be one of them? Because I sure as shit wouldn't. I'd think, like I said, all the other road course guys. I'd think Tyler Reddick. I'd think Shane Van Gisbergen. I'd think Chase Elliott would win one before Alex Bowman. I'd think Ross Chastain, Chase Briscoe has got some talent at the road courses. I'd think fucking Denny Hamlin. I'd think Logano over Bowman at a road course. I'd think Austin Cindric. I'd think Austin Cindric at a road course over Alex Bowman. William Byron over him. Larson, obviously, over him. There's so many people I would think over Alex Bowman to win at a road course, especially a street course. And yet Bowman has one of the street course wins. You know? He is firmly number 4, and there really hasn't been a year over these last how many years that it's been, wow, Alex Bowman, this is the year where he's number 2 in Hendrick. This is the year where he can maybe have a chance at running for the championship 4 or have a chance at the championship. There has never been that year for a while. And even the year where I think he won like 3 races in 1 year, I'm gonna make sure. You never really felt like he really had a shot. It kind of felt like, it's cool that Alex Bowman won a few races this year. It never really felt like, he's a guy who to look out for in the championship for. Yeah, he won 4 races in 21. And I'm telling you, like he never felt like a guy. I'm looking at these average finishes. Oh my God. I mean, he never felt like a guy to truly compete for the championship. Here, let me say this. Excuse me about that. My voice is starting to go. I'm talking too much. Average finishes since 2018. His average finish is 17th in 2018, 14th in 2019, 14th again in 20, 15th 21, 16th 22, 17th 23, 14th 24, 17th 25. It's the same. It's all the same. It fluctuates year to year between an average finish of 17th and 14th. Even the year he won 4 races in 21, his average finish was 15th. No different. He finished 16th in point standings in 2018. Or 18th. He finished 16th in points in 2018. 12th in points in 2019. The outlier is actually 2020, where he finished 6th. 21, he finished 14th. 22, he finished 16th. 23, he was 20th. 24, he was 9th. And 25, he was 13th. All 3 other guys in Hendrick Motorsports have made it to the championship for and or won a championship. Best that Alex Bowman's done was 6th in 2020. That was 6 years ago. Besides that 6th place finish, he has never made it to the round of 8 besides that 1 year. Every other year he has been bounced in the round of 12 as far as the playoffs go. Now, this year might be different. This year he might actually make it far. He might finish 6th because it's the chase. So things are different. And that's why I say this is the year where things have to be different. He has to take that next step. He has to be better. If it's not winning races, take the Chase Elliott route. Be consistent. Top 5s, top 10s, stage points, good runs, consistency, staying clean, staying out of trouble. But you cannot just exist anymore. To me, you can't exist being a Hendrick driver. You have to be better than just existing. It's the same thing with Ty Gibbs. You can't just exist and be a Joe Gibbs driver. You have to be better. I mean, Jesus Christ. Ricky Stenhouse is finding ways to win races in one of the bottomest fucking teams that you could find. He's won races over the last couple of years. I mean, there are other people in the Chevy camp that, good Lord, I want to leave this question up to you guys. If you've made it to the hour and 49 minute of this video, then please leave a comment on this video. I'm leaving this question up to you because this just popped into my head. If you're Rick Hendrick and Alex Bowman's contract is up at the end of the year and you have the option between these 2 drivers, let me ask you this question. Would you keep Alex Bowman or would you take a chance on somebody like, say, Daniel Suarez? Daniel Suarez has been a flop as far as in my opinion, as far as his Cup Series career. He's another guy who's just kind of existed. He's won a couple random off races every now and then. His time with Joe Gibbs was not great. And he's been in and out of some other rides, but would you rather have Alex Bowman or Daniel Suarez? Would you keep Alex Bowman, or would you take a chance that maybe Daniel Suarez could do more with that 48 car? Daniel Suarez hasn't had Hendrick Motorsports type talent. He had Joe Gibbs equipment back when he first started in the Cup Series, but he was young, inexperienced. He flopped out because, honestly, I mean, there was a lot of pressure on him being in that 19 car right after Carl Edwards got out of it. That same car that Suarez got in was the car that almost won the championship the year prior. So there's a lot of pressure there, and some people, it takes time. Am I saying that Daniel Suarez is, should be in that Hendrick car? No, I would take a lot of other people before Daniel Suarez. My example is more so talent-wise just between those two. There's almost a toss-up there. Because you almost have to, again, factor in the fact that what equipment was Daniel Suarez in and what equipment has Alex Bowman in. What equipment has Alex Bowman been in? This is the year. Alex Bowman's got to step up. This is the year that he has to take that step. I don't see it happening. And that's why I almost say I don't know what his contract status is, but I would not be surprised if at the end of this year, Hendrick Motorsports moved off of him. I mean, quite literally, I think the only thing that has held Alex Bowman above water is Ally sticking with him and sticking with that car. If we hear in the next couple weeks or the next couple months that Ally is leaving Hendrick and isn't sponsoring the 48 car next year, I guarantee you, Alex Bowman is done in that 48. He ain't coming back because there's no way they're going to be able to find sponsor to cover that 48 car. And I know Rick Hendrick loves to throw his own fucking logo on his cars, but he ain't doing it for the 48 and he ain't doing it for Alex Bowman. He doesn't love him that much. I don't think anybody at Hendrick loves him that much. I mean, good God, the guy sat there for years. I remember years ago he was worried sick. He would be in interviews pre and post race talking about, hopefully this buys me a couple more years. It's like, brother, you've been there for fucking since 2018. How many years is that? That's 9 years. 9 years. It's 8 years. He's been there for 8 fucking years. And he hasn't made it past 6th in the point standings. He's had 4 wins in 1 year. Think about this. 8 years, he's had 8 wins. In 8 fucking years of being at Hendrick, he's had 8 wins. And over the last 3 years that he raced, 25, 24, and 23, he only had 1 win in 24. Which, if I'm not mistaken, was the Chicago Street Course race. Yes, it was. Like, it's put up or shut up time. Because at this point, like, you're not some young guy where you can lean on, like, oh, I still got potential. Even Ty Gibbs could do that right now. Ty Gibbs is still young enough where he could say, oh, maybe he's a late bloomer. Just give him more time. How old is Alex Bowman? Where's his age on this thing? It doesn't show his age on Racing Reference. How old is Alex Bowman? The guy's 32. Okay. Yeah, it's now or never. It's now or never. And I get it. Everyone has to be the Casey Kane of, like, there has to be a fourth guy. There has to be somebody in that who's like the fourth best. Somebody has to fill the Casey Kane role of Hendrick Motorsports. I understand. But even at some point, like, Brian Vickers was that guy for a while, where he was the low man on the totem pole at Hendrick. He inevitably got removed and replaced. Casey Mears, at one point, was the low man on the totem pole at Hendrick Motorsports. And at some point, they got tired of it and let him go. Casey Kane was then, because I wouldn't even consider Mark Martin the low man on the totem pole. He had years where he was winning races. Casey Kane was then the low man on the totem pole at Hendrick. And that only lasted so many years before they found somebody else who they gave the shot to. It is shit or get off the fucking pot at this point with Alex Bowman. This is the year. I'm marking it now. If Alex Bowman don't win races, he doesn't show improvement, he doesn't finish well in the chase, it's over. It's over. There's no more excuses. It's the playoff system, blah, blah, blah. If only consistency was rewarded, and then Alex Bowman would be so much better. This is it, dude. After this, it's fucking over. After this, you get replaced. They'll go find somebody else. Dude, I don't know what the deal is with Corey Heim with 2311. I don't know what kind of contract they have written out. But I guarantee you that if Rick Hendrick had the opportunity to get Corey Heim and put him in that 48 car, he'd pay whatever fucking number he's got to pay to get Corey out of his 2311 contract in order to get him to Hendrick. Guarantee that. I guarantee that. They would move Alex Bowman tomorrow if they could get Corey Heim in that 48 car. So, there's my rant about those two. As far as the race itself, I want to touch on Carson here. I know we're getting to the 2-hour mark here, so I don't want to talk too much about Carson, but I'm going to try to make this quick. Let me take a drink here. Everyone right now is either with Carson or against Carson. A very polarizing figure after this past weekend's race. I mean, he's been a polarizing figure for a while, but he's more talked about and more polarizing. He's more perceived to be polarizing now because these last 2 weeks he's been at the front and he's been making aggressive ass fucking moves to try to win races. And you know, I heard Denny Hamlin talking earlier on his podcast today about how that's not needed. You don't need to make those moves anymore in order to win races. Brother, yeah, you do. You guys bitch and complain as drivers all the fucking time about these super speedways and these drafting tracks are only 2 lanes and no one can create a third lane. It's 2 to go. You need to make the move. If the hole is there, this is the difference between the Corey Day thing and the Carson Hocevar thing, okay? I bash on Corey Day because it's lap 4 into the race. I won't bash Carson, and I understand the move because it's a green, white fucking checkered and you have to make the move now. There's no more waiting. We're racing here. I only got 2 laps to try to get by these couple guys in front of me and get to the front. And not only that, but it's going to take a lap or so, half a lap for me once I make a move to then regenerate my run back and try to make a move on the leader. He's not going to help a Toyota. Why the fuck would he push a Toyota? The manufacturers bash into these guys' heads that you are not to help any other opposite manufacturer besides the one you are driving. If you are Chevy, you only help Chevys. If you're a Toyota, you only help Toyotas. If you're a Ford, you only help Fords. It is bashed into these guys' heads, and it has been bashed into these guys' heads that you only help your own respective teammates and or manufacturers. So the minute that he sees a 3/4 hole, Carson that is, he sees a 3/4 hole in between two Toyotas, you sure as shit, especially with 2 to go, you sure as shit are going to get Carson to shoot that gap and have, if he can force his car in there in the hopes of pushing the Toyota up the track and out of the way, he's going to do that. He's got a Chevy behind him that is going to be committed to him. He's going to go for the hole. So for all these Toyota guys and, you know, the fat ass that sits up in the fucking spotter stand that wants to bash Carson, let me say this, by the way, to Freddie Kraft, who wants to sit on his podcast and talk shit about Carson and how has no one punched him already? Motherfucker, here's the difference between where I'm sitting and you're sitting. I am sitting in states away, not paid by respective sport NASCAR, and not able to be at the track every week. I'm also not able to, because I'm at the track, interact with said person and either talk to him or confront him about anything, even if I were against anything he said or did. I can't physically either do something to him and or say something to him. This fucking fat ass wants to sit there and say, how has nobody beat him up? How has nobody just punched him in the face? Motherfucker, if you have such a problem with it, go and do something yourself. You're at the fucking track. Walk your little fat ass down the fucking spotter stand, down onto the track and down onto pit road, and have something to say to him if you only want to talk to him. Or if you want somebody to punch him your fucking self. But stop sitting there bitching about this fucking guy all the fucking time. All these fucking people, all these drivers. That's all they fucking do. That's all they did about Ross, and that's all they're doing now about Carson is they're just sitting there bitching. They're just bitching and bitching about these guys, and they don't fucking do anything. Guys like Kyle Larson will sit there and bitch about Ross, and then he won't do anything. He'll get pushed around by Bubba like at Atlanta a couple of years, or at Vegas, either last year or a couple of years ago, and he'll sit there and look like a fucking pussy. Getting sit there and shoved and just cower away and not do anything. Because all these guys want everyone to just get out of their way. They just want to not have any contact. It's like, we're not racing. Just get out of my way because I have a faster lap than you, so just get out of my way. And then it's complete hypocrisy where you'll have a guy like Hamlin sit there, and I get it. I understand he's going to defend his own guys. He's going to defend his own teammates. He's going to defend his team. He's going to defend his manufacturer to the death. Because he's not going to sit there, and why would he? It doesn't make business sense to sit there and bash a Toyota driver or to bash his own drivers. And then he'll sit there and say, "Oh, I'm harsh on my own guys. I'm not biased." Bullshit, you're not fucking biased. Of course you're biased. I would expect you to be biased. But don't sit there and say, "How has nobody done anything?" when you yourself have the physical ability to do something. Better yet, since we're talking about fat ass earlier, Freddie Kraft, you had this motherfucker on your show sitting 2 feet away from you. On Door Bumper Clear, they had Carson Hocevar on the fucking podcast, either last year or the year before, literally sitting 2 feet away from Freddie Kraft. So Freddie, if you wanted to do something, or if you wanted to say something, there was your opportunity to say something. And I fucking listened to the podcast. I heard what you said to him. And guess what? You didn't do anything. Because you're not afraid to be, you're too afraid, or you didn't want to be controversial and actually confront the guy about anything and actually give him counterpoints. You just wanted to joke about it. and kind of tiptoe around the subject because he's sitting in front of you. So you can't actually just say, hey, you've been doing dumbass shit on the fucking track, making an ass out of yourself, and say it like that. You have to tiptoe around it. Or you have to say it in a jokative manner so it's not confrontational. But yet all these motherfuckers want to sit there and bitch and bitch and bitch about everybody else that does anything different. As far as actually being aggressive or actually making moves or actually trying something. Yeah, maybe did he try something over his head that put a car into the wall? Yeah, sure. But guess what? Are we fucking racing? Like at some point, are we fucking racing or are we not? Are we just driving and we're all just working together to try to make it to the end and we pick somebody this week to win? Or are we actually trying to fucking race and are we actually trying to beat the guy in front of us? Because at the end of the day, Hamlin can sit there and say he doesn't need to make that move. But if Carson doesn't make that move and just pushes the 20, there's a very good chance he does not get by the 23 and the 20 and the 45 and he does not win the race. And he'll end up finishing 4th. And Carson still ended up finishing top 10 anyways. At these types of tracks, you need to have that aggression. And Hamlin can sit there also and say shit like, you know, he's going to regret that in the future. Why would he? Why would he? Of course Carson doesn't care. You want to know why Carson doesn't care? Because all you motherfuckers sit there and you bitch about him and you say, we're going to do something to you. If you keep pushing us, we're going to do something to you. We're going to have some retaliation back at you. And then you guys never do anything ever at all. You guys just sit there and you do nothing. You don't ever punch him. You barely confront him. And even when you do confront him, you just do it in a half-assed way that doesn't actually get through to him. And not only that, but you should have learned that, okay, if my words aren't going to get through to him and things that I say aren't going to get through to him, then maybe he'll actually listen to me if I do actually end up putting him in the wall. But none of you guys ever fucking do that. So guess what? He's going to keep doing the same shit he's been doing. God damn, I don't know what happened to Ross, but Ross was aggressive out the fucking ass and it got him wins. Ever since he took a step back, look at what Ross has been. I love Ross. I think he's a very entertaining guy. I think he's a very good driver. But he has lost an edge that he used to have that got him wins, that got him that almost got him a championship. It got him to the championship 4. And yet, you sit there and you wonder why somebody like Carson maybe sees that and goes, yeah, I don't want to lose my edge. Yeah, I don't want to take a step back. I don't want to change because what I've done has gotten me here. It has gotten Carson also, by the way, it's not like he's on a 1-year deal and he's, flying by the seat of his pants here. He's got a fucking long-term contract that he's going to be at Spire for the next 4 years at least. He'll be in that 77 Cup car for at least the next 4 fucking years. So he's stable in his ride. He's comfortable. He knows this is what he's got. This is his team. He's riding with these guys. And we can kind of forget that like Spire is a mid to low level team equipment wise. They're not Hendrick. They're not Joe Gibbs. They're not Penske. They're not even like RFK. That Spire team has been riding off the fucking back of Carson Hocevar for the last how many years? Do we remember how Corey LaJoie was doing in that 7 car there when Carson was there? We kept sitting there being like, Spire's a bottom end team. And then Carson showed up and all of a sudden, why the fuck? Hey, that 77 car that's usually like 30th or worst is all of a sudden running top 15, close to top 10 in Carson's first year. And then now he's competing for wins. He's in contention to win races. So you drivers and guys within the sport can get all pissed about it because it's fucking you up and it's messing with you and you don't like it because it's fucking with you, but you guys don't do anything. You guys just sit there and you take it, and then you just talk, and you bitch, and you bitch, and you whine and complain, and then you bitch some more. And at some point, like, I wouldn't listen to you guys bitch either. Because that's all you guys fucking do is you guys sit there and bitch and complain. It's another reason why you can't find guys that you like in the sport anymore, because that's all these people do is fucking bitch. That's why to me, I'd say, hey, if right now, if Carson continues on the path that he's on and he doesn't change, I would make this plea earlier if I didn't have this podcast. If I had this podcast earlier, I would have made this plea earlier. But I would have pleaded to Ross to never lose his edge, to never stop being the type of driver that he is. And he can sit there say it now like, no, I haven't lost my edge. Yeah, you have. You have so obviously taken a step back as far as your aggression, as far as how you race. You've changed something because you're not nearly as good or you're not nearly as fast as you used to be. There are sparks, there are spurts where he'll run top 5 or run top 10 or be leading laps or almost win a race or win a race every now and then, but it's not to the level it used to be. So now that I have this podcast and I have this platform now, I will plead, Carson, please, for the love of fucking God, Carson Hocevar, please, never lose your fucking edge. Don't listen to these fucking people in the sport that go, I know better because I'm 40 some years old and I waited until all of the other Hall of Famers that were in the sport left and retired before I got good. Denny Hamlin. I waited till all those guys left, and then all of a sudden I started winning races, and then all of a sudden now I'm a Hall of Famer, and then all of a sudden I'm revered. Because, now Tony Stewart's gone, now Dale Jr.'s gone, now Jeff Gordon's gone, now Jimmy Johnson's gone, now Carl Edwards is gone, now Matt Kenseth is gone, now Kurt Busch is gone. Like, all these other people are gone now, and now because they're all gone, now all of a sudden I'm revered. Because I'm just the last guy left. Don't listen to these fucking people. Please, for the love of God, Carson Hocevar, do not listen to them. Keep the edge, because it's going to not only draw attention to the sport as a whole, but it's going to get him fans. Because people have been dying for somebody to have this type of an attitude in the sport and race like this and be good. There have been many guys who have raced like this and then turned out to not be great and turned out to not have the talent and not be very good and peter out. I'm begging Carson to please be the exception here and not the rule. Please be the exception and find a way to get some wins, find some success. I'm not even begging for multiple championships here. I'm just begging, get some wins, find some success, and keep your fucking edge. Is there a chance that somebody finally one day might bow up and get enough courage to try to punch you in the face? Sure. But look what happened to Ross. Ross got fucking punched in the face. He ate that shit and he walked it off and made Noah look like a bitch. So, and hey, look at that. Noah's a nobody. Sorry, Noah is a nobody. He's just another nameless, faceless guy in the field. That's like the Ware guy walking up to fucking Carson, whether it was, I think it was last week. Not Cody Ware, but the Carson Ware walked up to him and was like, talk shit about him hitting his car and, I understand, I get it, you don't have to pay for it, so you don't care, but we have to actually work on our shit, we have to actually pay for it, or some shit like that. And Carson Hocevar basically laughed him off on his live stream the next day, or whatever. Rightly so, by the way. So I'm begging Carson, please, don't lose your edge. Please don't. This is the one fun, entertaining guy to watch in the Cup Series. And you can sit and say that his move at the end of the race was dumb or it wasn't the right move or whatever. At the end of the day, these cars at super speedways and at drafting tracks still only race 2 lanes. It's majority 2 lanes. He's not going to help a Toyota. He sees an opening. Even for a split second, you see that fucking opening, and he shot for it and he went for it. And he took a chance. Too many of these guys don't fucking take chances. They're fine with sitting and riding. We have enough people in the sport that are fine with just sitting and riding and don't take chances. So Carson, I'm glad he took a chance. I'm glad he shot the gap, and I'm glad he went for it. Keep doing that. Don't listen to these other fuckers who just... They're bitching because you're fucking with them. They're bitching because you're making them look bad. You're making them look less than. They want to just be able to, they want everything to be just status quo. Everyone just ride. No one do anything too crazy. No one make any mistakes. Nobody take a chance ever. One last thing, and we'll get into our top 10 as far as the Atlanta race. Kyle Larson. Good God. People love, speaking of people though, that like the opposite. Everyone loves to ride this guy's dick to the fucking ends of the earth. I'm going to say this right now. For all those people who are out there talking like Kyle Larson's the best driver in the sport right now. He's the best NASCAR driver right now. There's no better racer on the planet than Kyle Larson. Let's put it this way. Your best driver, you're the guy who you think is the best, is so unaware of his surroundings and so dense and doesn't fucking listen, obviously, that he decides at the end of the second stage, even though there is so obviously somebody below him, to just go down 2 lanes. He was up next to the fucking wall. He just goes, I turn now, and then just turns left all the way down the fucking track and just cuts SVG off. Cuts Van Gisbergen off, gets himself wrecked, destroys his fucking car. Now, obviously, Larson very rightly took blame for it, and he said he fucked up. But this is stuff that, like, this is no longer like a one-off thing for him. He does this shit a lot. More than you think. Go back and look at some of these races the last couple of years. He does some just... I'm not sitting here saying he's untalented. I'm not sitting here saying he's no good. I mean, the guy won a championship last year. He won 10 races in 21. He's won multiple championships now. He's good. Not saying he's not. But somebody who's good at driving can also do really dumb shit for almost no reason. Like, what was the point? I understand he's like, I was coming down to try to block the guy who was coming. Brother, he even said himself, maybe I should listen to my spotter. Yeah, maybe you should. Maybe that's the reason why he's sitting up there, is to tell you, hey, you got a car and you're inside. Maybe don't turn down the fucking track 2 lanes for no reason. Or whatever reason you did it for, a very stupid reason. I want to make that perfectly clear. Larson might be good, but God, he's a dumbass sometimes. He's just dense. And that's just a dense move. That's a very dumb move to make. And this is not a one-off thing. Like I said, this is not a one-off thing for him. This is something he does often. He like makes a habit of this. Maybe not something as egregious as that, but just he's done some dumb things over the last couple of years that you almost have to kind of take a second look and go, this is your best guy. This is the guy, by the way, that supposedly would wipe the floor with against Max Verstappen if they were if they were to race against each other. He would wipe the floor with Max Verstappen. Let's put it this way. I wouldn't doubt that if you were to put Kyle Larson on an oval track against Max Verstappen, equal stuff, equal cars, and you gave Max some time to try to figure the car out, I don't know if Larson would run away from him. Like, Max is a pretty good driver. I'm not saying that Max would beat him. but it's not exactly like he's running away with it. Okay? Fuck, dude. Kyle Larson tried to run IndyCar, which is known as like the inferior open wheel series, and he picked the one car or the one track that is the most oval-like, besides just running an actual oval, that the IndyCar runs, the Indy 500, and he sped and wrecked out. By the way, wrecked out really bad in that other Indy 500. Talk about spectacularly stupid ways to wreck. That was another way, the very spectacularly wreck. I'm running out of voices. I'm running out of words. I'm stumbling over my words here because we're going very long. 2 hours and 20 minutes into this shit. Get off Larson's dick. Get off of harping on Carson Hocevar so much, and get off fucking Larson's dick, for Christ's sake. Maybe even that shit out and we might be on a better playing field here. Okay. Anyways, I'm done talking about Atlanta. Let's dive into our top 10 after Atlanta, and let's get to the Asshats of the week, and let's get the fuck out of here. My new top 10. Last week's Daytona top 10. Number 10 was Chase Briscoe. Number 9 was John Hunter Nemechek. Number 8 was Michael McDowell. Number 7 was Carson Hocevar. 6 was Zane Smith. 5 was Brad Keselowski. 4 was Kyle Busch. 3 was Bubba Wallace. 2 was Chase Elliott. And 1 was Tyler Reddick. That was last week's top 10. So let's dive into this week's top 10 after Atlanta. Number 10, number 17, Chris Buescher. Had himself 2 solid runs now. Not very spectacular showings. He was okay at Daytona, and he was a little bit better this week at Atlanta. Had some trouble as far as wrecks-wise, but he's been consistent through the first couple weeks, put up decent stage points, and so that is why I have him at 10. Number 9, Ross Chastain enters into the conversation. Had a rough ending of his Daytona 500, obviously, but he made up for it this week with a top 5 at Atlanta. Gets him into our top 10. I think he also got some stage points as well, so good for him. Number 8, number 22, Joey Logano. Joey is another one I didn't talk about, and I'm not going to talk about too much, but I'll touch on this. The wrecks that he was in, I don't like Joey. I think he's an asshat. But at the same time, the wrecks that he was involved in were not his fault. I don't blame him for the turn 4 wreck that he had with Denny Hamlin. And I don't remember who got into him, but he spun out into the infield, and I obviously don't blame him for that either. So I'm not a Joey Logano fan. As I said last week, if you listen to last week's episode, I said anybody who's a Joey Logano fan has an issue with their brain. But I have him at 8 this week. Number 7, his teammate, number 12, Ryan Blaney. He had himself another nice run this week. It's again, consistency thing. He's been consistent last week to this week. Another good run here in Atlanta. Okay, compared to some other guys. Consistency gets you into the top 7. Plus, he had some nice stage points at Atlanta this past week. Number 6, a surprise, still in the top 10. Second week in a row. I never thought I would have this guy in my top 10 for the first 2 weeks of the season, but hey, give credit where credit is due. Number 38, Zane Smith. Zane Smith is at number 6 in my top 10. I am as surprised as anybody as far as the start of the season he's had. 2 good, solid finishes. He's in the top 10 in points, I believe, right now. So he's been running surprisingly very well. I'm going to look at the standings before I actually say something like that he is in the top 10 in the standings. But he has had 2 solid finishes to start the season. Good for him. I mean, really, honestly, good for him. A nice, solid start for front row. Surprised somewhat. I mean, yeah, he's 5th in points right now. So not so surprised as far as like the 2 tracks that they went to. I guess it's just more surprised that he had good runs at both tracks. Number 5, though, I have number 9, Chase Elliott. Had himself a good Daytona 500. Almost won the 500 last week. And even though he was not up front all the time, he was always in the mix this past week at Atlanta. So another solid run for him as well. Keeps him at number 5. It drops a couple spots because obviously some people passed him, but keeps him at number 5. Number 4, number 77, Carson Hocevar. Another solid finish this week. Last week, I gave him the credit for being there at the end and getting wrecked at the end. This time around, credit for, again, being there at the end, almost winning the thing, still having himself a top 10 finish, though, which makes up for it a little bit. So he is number 4 on my list. Number 3, number 19, Chase Briscoe. Solid finish last week, P2 at Daytona. Somewhat of a step back this week, but still, no, sorry. Am I mistaken? It's the other way around. Sorry. Second place at Atlanta this weekend was okay last weekend at Daytona. Sorry, I had it flipped around. They're both drafting tracks. They all get mixed together. Anyways, Chase had himself a second place finish this week. Bumps him up to number 3 on the top 10. Number 2, though, I don't think you guys would be too surprised with who's number 2 and number 1. Number 2, Bubba Wallace. Close to winning the Daytona 500 last week. Close to winning Atlanta this week. He has been leading laps. He is also second in points right now. It's a solid start. If it was not Tyler Reddick, it could have very well been Bubba Wallace winning the first 2 races of the season. I mean, he was right there both times these last couple weeks. That's why his depression episodes after the races are somewhat warranted. Him being that upset over the fact that, hey, I was that close winning twice. He almost won in Atlanta and he almost won the Daytona 500. I'd be depressed too. So I understand Bubba. But then again, number 1 is his teammate, the guy who's won the last 2 races of the last 2 races here that we've had, the first 2 races of the season, Tyler Reddick, winning at Daytona 500 in extraordinary fashion, and then this past week winning without a right front cover, like the side plate on the near his wheel. Broken car and all, didn't matter. New tires, got himself through the field like fucking hot knife through butter, just diced his way through the fucking field. Watching that was crazy. And got himself a W. So when you win the first 2 races of the season, it's hard to not put you at number 1 on my top 10 list. So there's our top 10. Chris Buescher at number 10, Ross Chastain at 9, Joey Logano 8, Ryan Blaney at 7, Zane Smith number 6, Chase Elliott number 5, Carson Hocevar number 4, Chase Briscoe number 3, Bubba Wallace 2, and Tyler Reddick number 1. So 23-11 takes the top 2 spots in my top 10 list. Now remember, this top 10 is not based off of standings. It's, I can easily just take the top 10 in standings and say, this is my top 10. It is a combination of how they've actually looked in the races, combined with finishes, stage points, stats, stuff like that. So it's more so, it's a power rankings, just expect what a power rankings is, Like I said in the last one, if we get 10 weeks into the season and I pick somebody who's 27th in the points to be in my top 10, it's more so based off of recent runs. It's not all encompassing of, because again, I could just do the point standings if I were to do that. But let's go ahead. Let's end the show off with our final segment that we're going to do every single week. Our ass hats of the week. We have 3 ass hats again this week. Number 3 on this list. I'm going to take a drink before I say it. William Byron is our 3rd ass hat of the week. I did not mention it. He said he had a tire going down. If you go back and watch the race, he got involved in a giant wreck that he caused because of contact, I assume. He said he had a tire going down. Or no, he didn't even say he had a tire going down. The broadcast thought he had a tire going down. I don't even think Williams said he had a tire going down or something broke. He just drove down he lost it in turn 2. And then as he's going down the backstretch, he's just fading to the left down the track towards the infield for no reason, very slowly. And then it ends up catching some people and causing some giant pileup. So for that, William Byron, you are number 3 asshat of the week. Number 2 is Bubba Wallace. Even though he's number 2 on our top 10 list, he's number 2 for asshat of the week, because who in their right mind, I have to blame him because he's in the car and he's in control and he can choose to not go up the track on one of the last laps and get himself out of line. Why would you leave a Toyota teammate to just go up and try to block the run from the Chevy. I don't care how big of a run he had. You are asking yourself to either get turned or get pushed out of line, and he had the latter happen to him. So that was a dumb move for him, and it took him completely out of any chance of winning the race. So asshat number 2 of the week is Bubba Wallace. And number 1, our number 1 asshat of this last week at Atlanta is Corey fucking Day. Why on lap 4, like I said earlier, are you throwing it 3 wide for no reason in a hole that sure it's there, but there's no reason to go there? You're not even following the line that you're in. He was in the outside lane. He then just goes off course, gets in the inside of Ryan Sieg for no reason other than just take any hole and take any run you can get. I guess he's just shooting for any hole he can get. Any hole that's open, he's going to try and dive into. Pause. So Corey Day is our number 1 asshat of the week, and that is going to do it. Holy shit. I did it in less than 3 hours, but it was only 2.5. A 2.5 hour podcast. If anybody made it to this point in the podcast, this far in, I want to say thank you for listening. I hope y'all enjoyed. I was kind of slow to start, but I got going there. Once I started talking about Carson Hocevar, I started getting going. You can understand why. You get passionate about things that you care about. And when people are out there making stuff happen that is more interesting than anything, you're going to care more. So I want to thank everybody again for listening. I hope you all enjoyed this week's podcast. I'll be back same time next week. Tuesday, 6 a.m. goes up on YouTube. Also, if you didn't know, go to the links in the not the description of this video. I might start doing that, but in the actual bio, or go on my YouTube channel, I have it linked on my bio. The Spotify link is up there right now. Go listen on Spotify, because there's no actual video here. It's just a still image. If you want to go listen on Spotify, go listen on Spotify. Go take a click there. Again, like I said earlier, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so that you know when 6 a.m. Tuesday comes around and you'll see my video come up and you won't miss a single episode, because this is where you want to be listening to stuff for NASCAR related content. I don't know. I was about to say podcast, but content. I am so happy that this got even over 100 views on my first video for a podcast. I understand that it probably caught a little bit of the algorithm talking about Natalie Decker, but I hope that I get just as much people, if not more people, to listen to this one after the crazy Atlanta weekend that we had. I'm going to try to do some improvements as far as, maybe get a video. I don't think I'll do a face cam, but more so incorporate video stuff onto the YouTube channel and try to make some improvements on this thing as we go. Obviously, I'm in the infancy stage of this thing. I'm, 2 episodes in, so we'll make some improvements as we go along. But I'm going to get out of here. Hope you all enjoy the rest of the week leading up to, and I hope you all try to enjoy road course racing. Road course racing is usually pretty boring. Hopefully we'll have some more stuff to talk about next week at COTA. Probably going to be a shorter episode. I almost just spilled my drink. A shorter episode probably next week, because COTA is pretty boring and probably won't have as much to talk about. So, but we'll see. Maybe something crazy will happen out of the weekend. You never know. I might jinx it. Hopefully I did, and we get some good stuff. So thank you all for listening. Take it easy.